set plan, I won't read everything that's on the screen there, but it's important that we're aware that it's an important document that's used for looking at students' career choices, and it's part of the process that all Year 10s in Queensland go through with their school, and it's quite an involved process, but it's important that we work through that. In your folder, I've given you lots of information. I'll work through those gradually, but if I just pull this one up, don't worry about getting anything out yet. This green form is the set plan for the school. It's a really important document, and that's the main thing that we'll end up filling out with all the information that we've got. Okay, so as it says up behind me, a set plan essentially is a confidential document that's developed with the students, parents, caregivers and the school to map their learning and career pathways. So the purpose is to set and achieve learning goals for years 11 and 12. It's not necessarily university, it's not necessarily OP, it's for all career paths. So I'll talk about alternate pathways in a minute, but it might be traineeships, it could be TAFE, it could be any other course that's available. Okay, so it's not just focused on the OP. So it's flexible, coordinated pathways, and I guess it was brought in so that we started thinking about the career choices in Year 10. I know I've spoken to a few mums and some in this room, but one of the regular conversations I have with parents is that students are not sure of what they want to do. So one thing, the second most important thing is for students, reflect on what you're interested in. And that's some of the things I'm going to show you now that hopefully all the Year 10 students have done when I asked them to. If not, hopefully they'll get stuck in and make sure they finish them because it's relevant to what I need or what they need to have a conversation with you as parents to start thinking about the interests or what jobs they would like to be involved in. So I'll talk about that a little bit more further on. So it's a structure based on abilities, interests and ambitions. And that's probably the conversation as parents. It's really important to start having that conversation. Hopefully all the tools I'm going to show you and the information you can use as conversation starters, so you can start having that conversation with your student and start talking about what they're interested in, what they might like to do, discuss various careers that may be available out there. One of the things, obviously, you'll have read quite regularly and see video clips is about how jobs are changing so much and there's so much happening, so it's very difficult to keep up to date with what is out there at the moment. So hopefully through the websites that I've got to show you as we work through tonight, that will help you in terms of guiding your students and having those discussions. The set plan will be able to list a variety of different learning pathways, some of which may be assessed outside the current formal structure of the school, and this provides for more options and flexible learning. As I said before, it covers all different pathways. Ms Phillips will talk a little bit more about the QCE, which is the Queensland Certificate of Education, and in that you can bank lots of other different certificates, TAFE courses, etc. towards your completion. Okay, so Ms Phillips will talk about that, but it's important that you remember that as you work through the next 2.5 years, that if there's something that you can bank towards your QCE, you make sure you put that in, and you need your Louis number. As I said, it's a very important number, and it's very important that you bank those things. So Ms Phillips will share a little bit more about that as we move on. So, what's involved in developing a set plan? I've given you the folder that's there. As I said, the Louis number on the front of the packet is the most important thing at the moment. We've had a number of tasks that we've done through the Concordia Careers website. Could I just have a quick show of hands of who's used the Careers website? Hopefully all Year 10s should have. But can I encourage parents as well to have a look at that? Good. Great. Wendy, you go to the top of the class, get a chocolate star. But with your students, they've got to log in, they can access the student area, which I'll show you a little bit of in a minute. But unfortunately, I've forgot my password's not working, so I can't get in there. to show you, but it's got a lot of the plans, and thankfully I've also put it into the PowerPoint, so I don't necessarily have to have that to show you, but it's worthwhile having a look at all the things that are there. In that, if I can mention a couple of websites so far, My Futures, which is linked through this careers website, I'll show the website in a minute, and Job Guide. The Job Guide used to be printed and handed out, but it's not anymore, but it's all on the web, so it's very simple to go to, and we'll have a look at those as we work through tonight. My Career Match, I'm going to show you that in a minute, but all Year 10s will be doing that on Tuesday. And what it does is give students a great profile of where they fit in terms of career choices that they can make. It also has a number of links on that to individual employment opportunities, so I'll show you that as well. Research career choices. I'm hoping that with the Concordia Careers website, it gives you a lot of choice to start looking. There's also, if you're looking at university or that pathway, start looking at university websites. TAFE obviously have their websites, TAFE Southwest, but what we've tried to do for alternate pathways, certificate courses, traineeships, we've put on the careers website. We've also had a careers newsletter, which hopefully was emailed out to everyone, every parent in the room. I'm sure you've got that. So we'll keep putting those up. So in terms of alternate pathways, that's traineeships, apprenticeships, those type of things. We'll put that out there as much as we get given, but it's also up to students, with your parents' guidance, to make sure, if that's what you're interested in, is to get a resume together. There's resume builders and all the things that we've got, we'll show you in a minute, but you need to start going out to businesses that you're interested in, or sending your CV off, if that's what you're looking for. If you'd like to get a traineeship, that could be in hospitality, business. We've got a few students doing traineeships in business. There's quite a few of those have come up recently. A couple in hospitality. There's one that was very popular, was vet science, working in a vet clinic as a vet nurse traineeship. So there's lots that will come up, but we'll try and get as much as people let us know, because the training providers will let us know, but there will be others that will be advertised, and realistically it's word of mouth, going into a business and actually presenting your resume and giving it to a prospective employer. So that's all part of it. Some of that you can do on the Concordia Careers website. So look for courses. I'm going to work through a little bit of that in a minute. Alternate pathways, I think I've probably covered that, but it's important that you think of those sort of things. Certificates, you can bank, as I said, towards your QCE as well. Third and most important thing I'll keep mentioning is discussing this with your parents, and parents discussing it with your students. It's important to have those conversations so that we're all on the same page. My own personal experience, I was very lucky. My eldest, from about year 5, or age 5 actually, was always wanted to be an architect. So that was very easy when it came to doing the career choices. He was always going to be an architect, and he is. So that was very easy. My youngest, as some of you are finding in your thoughts and discussion, didn't know what he wanted to do. Eventually did a degree in business, which was fine. Great information that he did, had an enjoyable gap year sponsored by his parents, and then eventually joined the Air Force, which was a really different out of the blue type thing. So it's not a straightforward process. Obviously you can come see me. I look after careers here at the college, talk to Year 10 home class teachers. Ms Hassett has a lot of information as well, but it's important to keep asking those questions and have those conversations, particularly with students. USQ also has a good facility out there for looking at discussion about careers as well. So from what I've seen so far, I know a couple of students in Year 12 have been out there to talk to the ladies there, and it's been quite productive in terms of alternate ways that they can get their courses. Right, hopefully, just click on this one, it should come up. This is the careers website. Links on the our college website. It's been in the newsletter quite a number of times, and hopefully it will come up. This is already there. www, World Wide Wait. Anyway, I'm going to the one I prepared earlier because of Okay, so essentially the front page looks something like this. The student section has a, won't click on this, I'll put a picture of it in a minute, but has a drop-down section and has a number of things that students can go to. For parents, there's only a couple of documents in there at the moment, but one of the most important parts, if you go to important information, I think it's about third down, but it's got latest information as one of the categories, and in that we have all our TAFE certificates, traineeships, etc., and open days and that sort of thing. Just give it the next one. So on the website, there's a message board. We put a lot of messages up there as well. We try to keep them short, but usually it links through to the updated information, so keep an eye on that. The 12s all have your students all have access to this website, and also there's the careers newsletter, so hopefully they've all put their email address in and signed up for the careers newsletter. We also have our own newsletter which we'll try and get out fortnightly. The first one I've already mentioned, and that will also come out, but it's also on the site access any previous editions. So we'll try and get that information out to you. There's a Facebook like box, so if you have a Facebook, you can like the page and keep in touch that way. Okay, so on the front page, there's the messages that I just talked about. Bottom left is how you subscribe to the emails. Parents can do that as well. And on the right hand side is updates of open days and any other information that we have. And so it's important for all of us to have a look at that. So what have the students done so far? They have done their work experience. So they've had some experience with work. Some students here have started doing some Certificate 1 courses in construction. So that's all experience that they've started to get together. Okay, so hopefully they were supposed to have finished by the 1st of June, but checking the... there's some in here who perhaps have not got that far. But 1st of June they're supposed to have looked at the website, finished the interest, strengths and abilities and value, the work value, components, and then by the 18th should have finished their career plan. I'll show you those in a minute. The reason for doing the first three, or the interests and strengths, is particularly for students to think about what they are interested in, because that's the first part of looking at developing their career. And that's why that's an important part of it. It's also in the set plan as well, so it all leads up to that. Okay, so in the student secure area, let's click on that, log in, and on the left hand side we have a number of choices, and so essentially I've asked the students to do these ones here. So hopefully they'll get those done the next couple of days, particularly as we'll have set plan meetings in week 3. Okay, so the lessons. This is just the top half, but these lessons relate directly to each of those categories. So it's just a very simple process. Click on Open Worksheet, work through the worksheet, and it takes you through the first part. So the first one that I've done there, which was interests. So for me, it worked out to nature or recreation was the main interest. But it's important that students that you do this because it helps you to think about or get a focus on what your interests are. You can investigate jobs there as well. So there's this example of the worksheet, and that's there too. Obviously you don't have to fill it out. I'm going to mark it because it's for you, not for me. So, but it's important, if you just answer those questions, even to yourself, it just helps get you on the right track. Strengths and abilities, this is just going through, just tick and flick of things that you're interested in. Again, this is for your set plan. There's a whole heap there that you can do, or should have done by now. Then after that, you can think about the type of work that you'd be interested in, abilities and interests and how that relates. And then work values is a ticking what or why you're going to work, what you think is very important to earn enough money to live well, etc. There's a whole heap of information there. And finally, with work values, just cards that you can print off and do a sheet to work that out. I'm not going to go through any more detail than that, so hopefully I just want to encourage the students to do that, but if parents, you might be able to help me to chase them, please, because it is important. So I ended up with this when I did it. So there's a whole heap of things that you come up with good at, what you need to work on, and in our set plan there is some of that information can go directly onto that. The career planner, this is actually set up like a set plan, however looking at it I prefer this format for the moment because it sort of spreads it all out. I wouldn't recommend printing it off, but if you work through each of these steps you can end up with quite a detailed pro forma that you could use to just go through and complete this. A lot of it ties up and matches. So I've got an example here. Okay, so you end up with something that looks like this. I'm just going to scroll through a bit. So you've got your details. What you're interested in doing, and a lot of these questions go directly to your set plan as well, and subjects that you study or plan to study. So here's another, you can start writing down some of the subjects you might be interested in doing. We'll come back and talk a little bit more about that selection in a little while. So favourite subjects, least favourite subject, which you'll find is on the set plan as well, and it's important to, all part of, what are your interests, what would you like to do. Okay, hobbies, personal qualities, a whole heap of things that you come up with, and work experience, work-related skills and achievements, and goals. So these are all the things that come from going through each of those steps. I'll just go backwards. Do it this way. So it's just simply working through each of these steps. You just follow the get started, it takes you through all those and you end up with the action plan. Right. Is there anyone got any questions so far? There's got quite a bit more to go through, but I think my main part at the start is to reflect on our interests, what our abilities are, what we're really keen to be involved in. That's to the students, and for parents to work that through with your students. Is there any questions particularly at the moment? We'll obviously have a question and answer at the end, but is there anything else? Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Ms. Phillips.
Okay, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about the QCE, the OP and what's called FPs. When you're choosing the subjects, you need to take into consideration that you fulfil the requirements of the Queensland Certificate, and that if you are looking at getting an OP, that you'll also fulfil those requirements. A lot of the requirements for the OP and the QCE are similar. Okay, let's see if this works. Good. Okay, so to be able to get a QCE, there's a whole heap of dot points that you need to make sure you fulfill. We need to make sure we beg 20 credit points to be eligible for your QCE. To do that, you have to get a sound or equivalent to actually beg for that particular course that you're doing. So each semester is worth 1 credit point if you pass or better for that subject. Okay, we need to make sure that we have at least 12 credit points based on your core course subjects. We'll talk a little bit about what those core ones are. And you can also have an additional 8 credit points doing other subjects other than the OP type subjects. So certificate courses, that sort of thing. But there is a maximum of 6 of those credit points can be from preparatory, sort of prep type courses, courses like numeracy, literacy type courses, if you're not fulfilling those requirements of the QCE. Okay, so that's another requirement. You have to make sure you fulfil those literacy and numeracy requirements. We'll go through what those fulfillments are in the next couple of slides. Okay, there is an exemption for if you do not get your 20 credit points, you can get exemption up to 2 credit points on subjects that you scored a limit for as a level of achievement if you leave that subject at the end of semester 1 or semester 2. We would assume that using these exemption points would be a last resort. We would hope that everyone would get the 20 credit points that they need. There are other ways that you can get the credit points outside of doing it at school as well. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. Okay, so these are the different types of courses that you can do. We need to make sure that we have three complete courses over the semester. So that means you have to stay with that subject over the whole 2 years. So we all choose a certain number of subjects, but 3 of them have to be completed. So if some students change subjects at end of semesters, and that's okay, but we've got to keep an eye on the fact that we get that 3 complete courses all the way across the year 11 and 12. Okay, so there's a whole range of them. The QSA subjects, they're the ones that would go towards OP grades, but then there's a whole heap of other ones, like SAS courses. For example, we have the fashion course, which is a SAS, pre-voc maths, econ, those sorts of subjects can go towards your credit points as well. Okay, and then there's other certs and school-based apprenticeships that will also count as these core courses. Okay, these prep courses are some of your Cert 1s. Some of you may have already done Cert 1. And certain certificates and awards and short course in numeracy and literacy as well. Enrichment courses, again, a whole range of VET courses can count towards that, but you can only have 8 points going towards the minimum of 20 that you need. Obviously, you can do more than 8, but it has to have the other 12 from your core subjects as well. Okay, and then the advanced ones, some students do university courses while still at school, and they can go towards your QCE as well. Okay, any questions about them? It's a whole range of courses. You can go onto any of the QCAA websites. I think there's information in our booklet as well, give you more detail about those courses. Okay, so the numeracy and literacy requirements are very important because you need these to actually get your Queensland certificate. There's 3 ways that we can get it. You can get a sound, achievement or better in either a maths subject for your numeracy and an English subject for your literacy. They can be your maths A, B, C, or your pre-voc, and in English can be the board English subject or it can be econ, and they will give you your numeracy tick. Okay, if we aren't getting in that way, what we can do is run a short course. We can run that in Year 12 if students are not looking at getting in the numeracy tick. And there is a 3rd way as well. You can get a C or above in your QCS test. So that might be one reason why someone who's non-OP eligible might decide that they want to do the QCS test as well. Okay. So here's the website that you can go to help track your credit points. You use that Louis number to be able to, part of the log on. I think that the students will be using that at school here to learn at some stage. Okay, and so down the bottom there, but you can keep banking your QSC points, or sorry, QCE points for up to 7 years after the time you would have finished year 12. So if we have any students that don't get that 20 credit points, they can keep working towards their cleansing certificate. Our aim would be that everybody, as they leave year 12, gets that QCE certificate. But there may be some circumstances where that may not be possible. Okay, OP. So OPs would be students who are choosing the pathway to go to university maybe, or they're not sure what they want to do and they want to keep their options open. So we had our OPs 1 being highest through to OP 25. Okay. There is looking in the near future to change that. I haven't heard anything else, so we're just going to keep assuming this is the way that we're going. Okay. So again, like with the QCE, you need to have the minimum of 3 subjects across those 4 semesters to be eligible for an OP. So they're the same conditions as the QCE. We have those 5 subjects over 4 semesters. Those 5 subjects may change, like you may do one particular subject for a semester and then change to another one, but those points will still, or those adding up those units will still count. Okay? And you have to also do the Queensland certificate, also the QCS test, and you have to complete year 12 to be eligible for your OP. Okay. There's an example of looking at whether you're going to be eligible for your QCE or whether you're going to be eligible for your OP. So here's an example of a person with their exit grades at the end of year 12, and because they've done 4 semesters of each subject, they get 4 points. That's this one here. They only get 2 points because they only did 2 semesters out of the possible 4. They've got a total of the 22 credits, so they've more than got enough to get their numeracy and literacy ticks. They've completed their 20 points or their 3 courses across 4 semesters, and their 20 points, so they're eligible for their QCE and to be able to get their OP as long as they also fulfill the other requirements like do their QCS. Okay, here's another bit more complicated one of someone that is chopping and changing a little bit. I put stars next to the ones that they may have started out with in year 11, and because of whatever reasons they've decided to swap around a little bit. Okay, so we can see here that they've got their numeracy and literacy ticks because they got a pass, they got a sound or better in Maths A, and in English they got a sound or better as well. So they've fulfilled that requirement. They've done 3 courses over 4 semesters, but they haven't got enough credit points, they've only got 18. But if you can see their QCE eligibility, because they have got a limit in 2 of their subjects, and they left that subject either at the end of semester 1 or at the end of semester 2, then we can use those as our bonus points, not bonus, but spare points if we needed to. But this particular person, because they've chosen hospitality and a traineeship, they haven't got the 5 subjects they need that are those core subjects to be able to get their their OP. So they're ineligible for their OP. Obviously, if there's students who are wanting to swap around a little bit, we keep track of these requirements to ensure that students are getting to where they need to get to. So if they want an OP, we will limit what subjects they can change to ensure they get that. Okay. That will be something that needs to be considered throughout the year 11 or 12 course. Okay. Like choosing the subjects, if you're based around your interest and what you're good at, then when it comes to looking at what TAFE course or what uni course or what job you want to go to, if you've got a job you like, it can't be much better than that. So at school here, we have to select 6 subjects over 2 years. They must include either English or Econ, and they must include one of the maths course as well. So you can do Maths A or Maths B or the pre-doc maths. And that ensures you get those numeracy and literacy ticks. Okay, should also, when you're choosing your subjects, you need to consider if you want to go to a particular university or a particular subject, you've got to fulfill those prerequisites. So if it says you need to do Maths C and Physics, you need to make sure that you're choosing those subjects if that's the course you can get into. Okay, so also take into consider the OP subjects and any of those non-OP subjects if you've decided to go within that. Okay, if you choose Maths C, you must also be doing Maths B. So we can't have someone dropping out of Maths B and staying in Maths C. It doesn't work like that. So you need to, if you're in Maths C, you're doing Maths B, and it's highly recommended that if you do Physics, you should be doing Maths B as well, because the Maths in Physics gets difficult. Okay? There is a little plug for Maths C and German, which I think history about that before. At some universities, German and Maths C give you a potential of an extra OP per subject, extra. So if you're choosing a course where OP is very important, then considering doing Maths C or German might be that one extra OP level you need to get into your course. You obviously have to make sure you do a bit of research into that. Make sure the uni that you want to go to actually has this as their part of their thing they do. Okay, field positions. Any Year 10s heard of field positions yet? Will do. Okay, so field positions are also something you need to take into consideration for some university courses. Not all of them do it, but some courses like medicine, field positions are important because what it does is they look at a whole heap of people that have the same OP and they choose the ones, let's say if everyone needs to have an OP1, but you have a field position that is higher than someone else, you can be chosen over somebody else just because you have a field position that is a little bit better depending on the subject that you choose. So these field positions are based on certain points for each subject, and then you add them up and the university will look at those ones. So it's not necessarily relevant for everybody, but it's something you want to take into consideration when you're choosing the subjects. So for example, if you're wanting to do medicine, you would choose the field point sections, which we'll look here, that are based around field D, which is solving complex problems, mathematical symbols and abstracts, and maybe I'm thinking field C as well, where field A, looking at written expression, or field B, which is communication involving reading, etc., might not be classed as important as field C and field D for that subject. So I think it's in one of these books here.
We'll go through it. I'll show you. On the work through the books, I'll show you where that is.
Okay. Okay, that's what I've got. Okay, so it's really making sure that you have to think about which subjects you're choosing. Choosing ones obviously that you like and you do well in, but also considering where that may lead you at the end of year 12.
Okay, any questions just in relation to some of that information? It's all can be a little complex, but hopefully with the things that we will be going through in the next couple of weeks in class, some of that will become a little bit more understandable. Okay, so what's next? Before we look at our package, I mentioned this before, my career match, so I'd just like to show you that, what the result is. Year 10, you'll be doing this on Tuesday, and you'll get emailed out a report which looks something like this. I'm going to scroll through it fairly quickly because the most important parts are near the end, but it's a, I think, a tick and flick question, but what happens is it's got a lot of information you can help how to work with your resume, but it looks at your personality styles. Driver, promoter, supporter and analyser. So this person was dominant, was an analyser, and then backup was a driver. all this information will be on there, but it's all different for every person who does it. But the most important things, I think, is that it gives you a little bit more about the style. You know, we were talking about before what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. Work-related strengths, which is also part of the set plan, and qualities that you bring to the job. All those sort of things that you help with your interests. And I know we keep pointing it out, but it's good to understand why we do these things. Job environment, things you like, what you're good at, what we admire about you, etc. So there's a lot of things there. How do you make a difference? Just helps with your personality style to read through those things. And to me, this is probably going to be, this is probably, because I like diagrams, so this helps. But when you get to this point, it's gone through all that information, which is all really good stuff as well. But this also helps, so this one here, this sort of puts you where you are on this area. So it helps you try and start thinking about what careers you might be interested in based on your interests and abilities, and that's what we've been pushing all night. But this is, you'll do it on Tuesday, be emailed out, so parents on Wednesday, or Tuesday night even, they should be able to show you this as part of their doing this My Career Match. If students are away on that day for whatever reason, we'll try and get it done as quickly as possible, because it all will help with the set plan. It'll give you 5 career recommendations, which is also a good starting point if you're not quite sure what you would like to do. And then all these links here linking to the job guide and My Futures, which is also part of what I'm going to show you next as well. So that's a really good resource that we'll be doing over the next little while, and it has a little bit about education degrees and that sort of thing. The next thing we'll be looking at is Career Action Plan. So this is on the website. I'll come back to that in a minute, but this here is the next part of this website, as I've said. If you work through this plan, it looks at the My Futures website and the job guide, but it comes up and looks at what job opportunities there are, what do you need to get that position, and a whole heap of information. So it's really important that you work through those and look at 3 different options. So hopefully that with that My Career Match, that will help you give some idea of what you can look at. But it also takes you through that in this here. So if I just go back. So this is the one that I did. So I did bus driver. So I keep telling my wife I'm going to be a bus driver when I grow up. But the stress. Even though it's not a university degree or course, it does have the information for all types of careers that you might be interested in. So it'll come up with all these things. I'll just scroll through so you can get an idea of what it gives you. Employment outlook, for example. So that's there. And course requirements, training, and a whole heap of things, which will help when we come and look at this in a minute, things that you can use to. He'll catch you in a minute. Okay, so that's probably the next 2 steps that's really important to do. Year 10s, particularly that second one that I've just shown you. Tuesday will be the first, will be when you'll get a chance to do that course. So it's Tuesday week, sorry, not this Tuesday because we won't have time in the morning. But it's enough time to then spend next week looking at where you want to go or what you want to do. The next thing I want to look at is, is the school set plan. So let's start by just having a look at a couple of things in your folder. So it's the green form. I'll come back to it as we work through this, but it's important that this comes to the set plan interview completed. It's really important that we've got that completed before you come to the set plan interview. Boarders, what we'll do is we'll organise phone interviews if your parents are unable to make it in. That's fine, but we'll do a phone interview. You either come to my office or with Ms Francescini or Miss Burgess if you're an international student, and we'll do it via teleconference with your parents, and then we'll do the signing up at the end. So you still need to, even if you're a boarder, you still need to fill this format out, and if you need help, we can scan it, send it off to your parents, or fax it to your parents, whatever's easiest. So it's really important, boarders, that you still do this form, because we need to get a copy of this to your parents, so that when we discuss it, we can work through that as well. This booklet here is the QTAC tertiary prerequisites. So it has all the university courses in Queensland, plus UNE at Armidale. And if you just open, it has, for example, I'll just open a page here, which is psychological sciences. If you go across, it just says where, a bit of information, but it then has the last two columns are probably the most important, because it's got what prerequisites you need to do. So if you just open up to any university, it doesn't matter. But it's really important. It's got entry requirements. We're talking about that. So that's the first thing. Once you've thought about what course you want to do, those subjects there in entry requirements are the first subjects you choose. A lot of subjects you'll find are just English. Might be English and Maths A minimum. But if you're looking at, for example, medicine, it'll be Maths B, A Science, English, etc. The last column on the right, it says fields used for selection within OP. So that was the field position that Miss Phillips was talking about. So if you look at the letter there, it says primary B or C. So that's the subjects that come under B and C. I'll explain a little bit more about that in a second. And then the secondary would be not required. So for popular courses, it's really important that you look at those field positions, and when we do our set plan interviews, that's one of the things we look at. So for example, if you're interested in medicine, vet science, physio, those type of really popular courses, okay, OP will be the first thing they'll go to, field position will be the second one. Okay, so it's important to think about those. So when you get home tonight, or the next 2 weeks, when you start looking at courses, if you're doing university courses, that's the sort of things that you need to for your set plan. This sheet of paper is also in your, just got to double check it's in there. I think it's just plain white sheet of paper. Pretty sure it's there. It has, this is for field positions. So this is how you work out your B and C or A when you've put your subjects in. So every subject here, these field positions are for base for students to finishing in 2016, but you're finishing obviously in 2018. So these may change. They haven't released the latest field positions. We've been in touch with QTAC. As far as they are aware, they'll most likely stay the same. So if you have a look at the bottom table here, this is where you fill out, if you write down the subjects when you choose them. So for example, if you choose accounting, in field A, it says, if I just read across from accounting, field A is worth 3 points towards that field, B is 3 points, etc. So all you're going to do is write those points in here, multiply by 4, because you'll be doing 4 semesters, or you may be deciding only 2 semesters, but go across, do those points, then you get the total, and if it's over 65, from memory, I'll have to double check that number, but it's then you are meeting that field position requirement. 60, sorry, good, that's what I was reading. Okay, so it's all written there, but have a look at that. We will go through it when you come for your set plan interviews. Year 10 students will be doing it with your home class teachers as well, so you'll get more information about that. But it's just so that everyone knows, you've got that sheet there to help with your field position piece. Come back to that. Right, okay. Mentioned a number of times tonight, make sure it's parent-student discussion, so I encourage you students to talk to your parents. Say that again, parents, students, make sure you talk to parents. Parents, please, it's really important that you have those discussions with your students as well. Hopefully tonight you've got access to some information that you can start those conversations, because that's the most important part. Book an interview time. We're going to do it through the Parent Lounge, same as parent-teacher interviews. There is a number of staff, I think there's about 10 staff, so you've got a choice of staff member and time, and it's Monday and Wednesday from 3:30 to 6:30, week 4 and 5. The dates I've got in the next slide. But it's important that you book those interview times, and if both parents wish to be there, that's great. And for boarding parents, you could book through that if you want a phone interview, but it's probably easiest just to email myself. Okay? But I'll talk to the boarders and work out how to do that. So the phone interviews don't necessarily have to be at those times. With Mr. Francesini and myself doing those, we'll be able to spread out during the day if that suits. But if you could just, I haven't put that up there, but if you could just liaise through me, that'd be great. It's a 30-minute appointment. As I mentioned before, please make sure this is completed, because if it's completed, it will take 30 minutes. If it's not completed, it'll take over that time, and if we run out of time and there's someone else lined up to come, we might have to call it short and arrange another time to do it. So it's important that this is completed as much as possible. I'll go through that in a little bit more detail in a minute. So from Wednesday, you can make those bookings. So it's the week 4 and 5, so 27th and July, 3rd of August. We'll be in the library. I didn't put that down on this, so just so you know, it's in the library from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. Again, I've written there, fully completed green set plan for this meeting, and boarders, as best as possible, will send home for signing as soon as possible. Okay, so what happens is, you come in for your set plan. I don't think you've got it. So let me just go through the set plan. The other booklet that you have there is the senior course planning handbook. It also has, again, the field position in it, but it also has a description of each subject that's offered. So we have all the core subjects that are offered there. We also have some SAS subjects, one being fashion, which has been very successful this year, and next year we hope to have recreation. Both those courses are not core subjects, so don't contribute to the OP, but there may be students who may be interested in doing, for example, a traineeship in recreation. So the SAS course would obviously be a great assistance towards doing that certificate course. I've had some, I can't remember the name of the company, but if you've just seen me the last week or so, it's in the newsletter, I believe I put it in there, that they're Cert 2 in recreation, I think it's called recreation, but they'll offer it after school, Wednesdays, and it's nearby, but I'm pretty sure the details have already been out on the careers website. But if you're interested in doing some certificate courses, that may be a possibility. Pre-Voc and Econ obviously count towards your literacy, but it will not count towards your OP courses. Correct on that, Arthur?
Yeah, and if you do Econ, you're not able to board.
Anyway, because Econ is English communication, so it's there to get your literacy, but it's not there as an English course. Pre-Voc Maths is for particularly for students who are doing, it's very practical, but it's particularly if you're doing a certificate course, and that's what you want to focus in on. It actually takes you through living type maths usage, from how to use bank accounts all the way through to that type of maths. Okay, so it's important to read through those, and we've mentioned a number of times tonight, look through for subjects that you're interested in. So, let's just quickly go through the education training plan. Very straightforward to start, Louis number. Okay, you've got that now, so make sure you put that on your form. That's pretty easy, it's on the front of the folder. The second part, which I haven't got on this form because I think it's an older version of the one that we need to. If you're doing, just so you know, if you're doing a certificate course in VET, you will also need another number, which the names escape me right at the moment, because the government, in their infinite wisdom, decided to have another number for students doing certificate.
It's a USI.
Very good. Yeah, USI. So that is, it's for anyone doing certificate courses, that's another number you have to keep track of, and also your bank your certificates in. But what it does, it's a universal number that goes across all the states. So if you go to another state, your certificates are then recognised in another state through that number. Your LUIs are just for Queensland. So that's just for your QCE and OP. Okay, so it's important, that's why they've developed that number for certificates, to make it more transferable. Essentially, just go through, work through and complete these questions. Intentions that you would like to do, and we've gone through all these things tonight. Certificates, VET certificates, as I say, it's in the Careers web site. We keep putting them out as soon as possible. TAFE also have lots of courses. Those who are interested students in this room went on a visit to TAFE just recently. University subjects. So for example, I know a couple of students in Year 11 this year are doing Head Start subjects. They're pre or university first year courses that you can do while you're in Year 11 and 12. So if you're interested particularly in doing that, they're available. One that I know one student's doing is journalism, another has been psychology, a previous student. I can't remember what the other student is, but those courses are there and we keep putting that out as well. It'll come out in term 1, so it's important that you have a look at that. Full-time employment. So that's there because if you are under 17, you have to be either full-time student or full-time employment or combinations of part-time, etc. But you can't be just unemployed. You have to be at school, so that's why that's there. So that's what 25 hours of more full-time employment, etc. So you just need to tick which one you're there. Some students do take up the full-time employment option in Year 11, so they go straight into a apprenticeship or have a job to go to. Okay, so that's why that's there. Work experience. It's really important that you write this down. What skills you gain from that work experience. Now, some people, when they come to do the SET plan interviews, I know when I sit down with the students, think they didn't gain much experience at all. But if you had to work with people of a different age, that's a very important skill to develop. Because at the moment at school you're working with students of your own age, so if you had to go into a work experience where you're actually working with older people, so you have to learn how to get on with different people, so that's certainly a skill you would have all picked up, most of your work experiences, and other things that you may have there. So that's important to think about as many work skills that you've done as well. All those things we've done, work preferences, all those things we've done with our My Career Batch. Okay, hopefully this will help you to choose My Future Careers, which is this website here, which is a link. Hopefully that will help you in your being able to fill those or circle which ones you really like to do, which that you don't want to do. Interest areas. Hopefully tonight you've seen a number of places where you can get your interest areas or work out how to do that, or discussions with your parents. Your personal strengths on My Careers website, hopefully in your career planner, all those things will be there, so you can just copy and paste, or you'll have to handwrite this. I'm sorry, I don't have the electronic version out there, but I'm working on that. Personal weaknesses, so things that you might need to work on or develop if you go for towards your work field. subjects that you really liked or vocational subjects you've really enjoyed, and disliked subjects that you perhaps have not been so keen on. Your long-term vocational term goals, so it may be university, it may be a traineeship, it may be cadetship, maybe looking at going in the armed forces, that type of thing. And preferred pathway, so you need to tick that. There are private providers as well that do provide a lot of training, that do diplomas and degrees which aren't actually a university, so there's also those options as well. That's why the private college and provider is there. Okay, this is probably the next important step. If you're going to look at a course at university or TAFE, write those down, the institution, and essentially you're going to be just copying what's essentially written here, what your prerequisites are, and your field positions if needed. Okay, so then we start doing the subject selections. This sheet here has all the subjects on it, the little light green one. So you need to also fill this one out as well, because we keep this and use this as well. So subject selection should be firstly what you need for your particular university, 2 subjects that you're interested in, and as you see there we've got a subject choice of 5. Now while we have more than you actually need, we're doing the CAMSIT chapter, sorry.
Sorry, man.
That's fine, no problem. No. Sorry. I should have said something earlier. No, so my apologies, I'm sorry. I should have realised earlier. Okay. Preferred subjects, so you've got English, choice of English, choose your maths, then after that put down 5 subject choices. So what we do in subject selection, we try and get, as possible, at least the first 3, or most times we get 4. But our aim is if you put it in the order that you want them or need them, it makes it very much better for us in terms of working out subject selection. Our aim is usually we get close to about 95% of covering what people need for the course to 100%, but we go fairly close to getting most people in the subjects they want to do. So it's important that you put all the subject choices down. If you're a international student, you put ESL as the last choice, so ESL goes last. Then we just look at have you met your literacy, have you met your numeracy requirements, have you met your QCE, and we just circle those and what eligibility. So it's fairly straightforward from what information you've said. If you're not sure about that, you can just leave that part until we have our interviews. School-based apprenticeship, traineeship, just put those in, so we also got that on record, so we can keep an eye out for this. Okay, year of entry is obviously hopefully next year. Year of exit would be 2 years' time. But some people may, for example, if they have sporting commitments or other commitments they know they're going to have, would like to spread it over a number of years. That's a possibility as well. Okay, so that's there. So don't worry about office use. Just the main thing is to read through this agreement. We'll sign this, but it just shows that you've understood what has been involved in the set plan process. We keep this original, the green one, when you come in for your interview, or as soon as we can. We will keep this on our file, but we will give you a copy. So we'll keep the green one and give you a copy as soon as we can. That way, we've got record of it. So once we've signed it all off, we go through that process. As you can see, I haven't changed the dates because it's an older one. And that essentially is the set plan. Now, through your course, if you want to change, okay, so you might want to change direction. I've had a couple of students see me recently. We just sign these reviews and just record any changes there, so we keep track of that, and you also get a copy of that as well. Okay, the subject selection, obviously I've got 2 pieces of paper, but it's the same process. It's got all the subjects there though on that list. The ones with the star indicates their vocational subjects such as hospitality, industrial technology. And then the SAS subjects are the ones with the squiggly lines, whatever that's called. Okay, and then you put your preferences in, we'll sign that. So both these sheets come to the meeting and it's filled out as possible. We may change this one once we start talking and looking at what preference you want in subjects. Okay, hopefully that's given you enough information to start with. Obviously I'll have any questions now if you wish, but please, if you are working through these with your students or students who have a problem, it's easy to see your Year 10 home class teacher or Miss Harston. Parents, please call me or Miss Harston. It's probably the best two people to make contact with, and we'll get back to you as quickly as we can to help you make this process as smooth as possible. Any questions that anyone may have? Okay, I'm sure they'll come up when you start working through it, but please, as I said, be in touch and we'll get that done. But Miss Phillips and I will be around, so if you have any questions like us personally, that's great. But thank you very much for coming in and have a safe trip home in this nice cold weather. Thank you.
Okay. I thought you were in the chat. Yes. But there's something like
Yeah, I'll try. Sitting through these cards, and oh, I know this is good. Any questions? Okay, see you. Best person, yes. Oh, I know it's best person. Won't be heard of the new problem. It's more of someone else grabs the head whilst it's travelling and be license. Yeah. Oh, I should take it to